Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Michele and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stamping Up. Thank you for joining me today in my craft room, and we're going to have a little bit of a play with Masterfully Made. Now, before we get started, um, please jump on, say hello. It's always great to say hi to new people. Let us know where you're from, and we always have quite an interesting chat. So when everybody else jumps on as well. So please, as I said, jump on whether you're watching from YouTube or from one of the Facebook um, pages that I have. Okay, I'm going to turn my camera down because this is a relatively simple card we're going to be making today because we're going to be using, let me show you, the Masterfully Made. Now, I have made a few projects using this particular suite, but today I'm going to play with something that I haven't really played with. One of the designer series papers I haven't really played with before out of this suite. I love this suite because I love the colours in it. I love the brightness. Hi, Glenda. Thank you. Yes, I am well, and thank you very much for joining today. So I really like this. Now, I've just been opened this up and because I've been having a bit of a play with this morning, working out what I'm going to do, and I really love what they've done here. So I'm going to, because I'm doing something very similar to this, so I'm going to add an extra element that they've done on here just to see how it goes. So let's get started. So the designer series paper that I'm actually going to use from this suite is this one here, because I think it's quite an interesting paper. It's excuse me, it's made up of lots of torn strips of the designer series paper, and they've layered it, and because it's a white core paper, you get that white line through it, and it's one of those papers that can look really great as a scrapbook page because it's a 12 by 12, but it's a little bit daunting when you're sort of like, oh, what do I do with it in a card? So I've cut 10 centimeter piece from this, which is going to give me 2 card fronts, which is 10 centimeters by 14.4. That's using the Australian standard A4 cardstock as our base. Of course, if you're going to use the American letter size, you would need to cut that down to your sizing, which I think is a little bit wider than ours, and a lot shorter than our card. So that's what I've done. I've cut a 10 centimeter strip from here, and I've cut it in half, and I've ended up with, let me just pull it out. I've ended up with 2 pieces of designer series paper. Now that would normally be down there like that. So if I bring this piece back in, you can see where that all fits. I've just removed a piece from the center because I just wanted to take out some of that the yellow tonings out of this, and I've just shortened my depth up here a little bit and removed a bit from up here. So these 2 pieces of designer series paper, because I have decided to mat them, I've cut them down to 9.7 by 14.1, and I have got for each one a piece of basic white cardstock, and we're going to mat those. Now those pieces of white cardstock are 10 centimeters by 14.4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mat them first, because we're going to make basically 2 cards today, just to show what you can do out with 1 strip of designer series paper and end up with 2 cards that are going to be in some ways very similar but quite different. So they're the measurements. I'm just about out of glue, I think, out of this. And I've been saying that for a couple of weeks now, but I end up getting that little bit extra each time. So let's just mount this. So I've only allowed a 3 centimeter difference between the 2 pieces, like the mat and the card front. And that just gives me a 1.5 mil border all the way around. Now, of course, if you were doing that in the Imperial, it'll be about a 1/16 of an inch all the way around. So you can see this one here gives you that the look of mountains and so forth, which by the time I'm finished this card, you probably actually won't end up noticing any of that. And I'm sure there are other ways that if you wanted to, you could keep that in. But okay. So Glenda, what have you been up to today? Anything exciting so far? Okay, so there's my two pieces matted up there. I've then got two card bases. I've got a piece of Knight of Navy, which is 10.5 by 29.9. And I've also got a piece of Berry Burst. So I'm going to adhere these pieces onto our card bases. So as you can see, it's quite a simple layout. Hopefully the pieces we're going to add on top is going to be enough decoration to not take away from the background, but to add to it. And using some of the elements that come within this suite. Now, I probably should have used my bone folder here. I'm just going to make sure that's all well adhered. But I just want to crease this down a little bit more. So that's that one. And now let me just do that first on this one. Oh, you're going to the pool. That's good. I have to start getting back to the pool, but I've been saying it for almost 6 months now. I've got to make myself a pair of swimming shorts and then get back into swimming. I love the pool, and because I'm sitting down all the time, whether I'm sitting down crafting or sitting down sewing, I'm getting less and less mobile. So my husband has been saying, you have to get back to that pool. So I'm going to have to make a real big effort and make my swimming shorts. It took me so long to find Lycra that was chlorine resistant. Because I bought swimming shorts and they only lasted me a few months. So, but yeah, I love the pool. Okay, so there's our two basic cards at the moment. So we've just got a piece of designer series paper, matted, and then on our card bases. So far, everything is really basic, but I mean, I think the paper really speaks for itself. So let's get in and let's do a little bit of decorating or making up some elements that we can now pop onto these. So I'm going to pop these to one side. And what I do have is two pieces of cardstock here, which are also 10 basic white, 10 by 14.4, and these are going to be the inserts for our card. So we've got one in the Berry Burst and one in Knight of Navy. And what I thought I'd do is just do a little bit of stamping along the top of both of them. And you could use the same color in both. I'm going to do one in Knight of Navy. So I'm just going to ink that up. Now, that Stamping Up did bring out a video, and I did have it posted on my page at one stage and I've just got some blue Knight of Navy ink on me. So let me just get that off my finger a little bit. Showing how they actually designed a lot of these stamps. And this was actually like a rubbing off the top of a notepad. Now I'm just going to turn this around a little bit so I can see where I'm stamping, because I do want that to be lined up with the top a little bit. I probably should have, see how that looks. Yeah, that's not too bad. I think for the next one I might stamp it off and take it a little bit closer to the top, but that's all right for that one. I just want a little bit of interest at the top, but that's the spiral on top of a notepad. Oh, you take. Oh, Glenda, you're my friend. I wish I lived near you. You teach aquatherapy. Oh, I love aquarobics. Our local pool here has it as well, and I think that's the first thing I'm going to get into is more the aquarobics than the actual swimming to start with, because I really do need to loosen up my bone structure, as they might say. And this one here, I'm going to use the Berry Burst. Again, I'm going to stamp this. My problem is we've got a heated pool, which is great, but I have got a thing about in winter going from inside the pool to outside the pool in wet swimmers, and because I'm a large person, I don't necessarily like using the change room. And even though they've got change rooms for, and I didn't stamp that off, I'm talking, that's okay, it'll be all right, it'll work. Yeah, because the change rooms don't like that, they've got two for people with disabilities, and usually I try to grab those, but there's only two, so if you don't get one of those, you've either got to sit around and wait or throw something on top and go home. I'm a real chicken when it comes to the cold. I think because it's so cold here in winter, it's sort of like can be snowing outside, and I love the pool, I love the heat, but it's just getting outside the pool and getting home, and then I find it's much easier for me to have a shower at home. And but I'm a wuss. I'll be the first to admit it when it comes to that. Just missed a little bit of ink on my stamp there. Okay, so I'm going to, because I'm sort of lacking here in stamp blocks, I'm going to just pop these away as we go. These stamp boxes are really great, storing these stamps in, and let's just it's a great exercise. Yeah, we've got a really good pool here in Mossvale. They built it a few years back now. They keep building on. I don't think they can build on much more now because they've sort of filled up every inch. But it is a really, really nice pool. We've got a big lap pool which is used. It's our only indoor pool. Actually, no, that's a lie, because the Frensham Girls Boarding School also have a indoor pool now, which the public can go and use. But yeah, it's got a really good large lap swimming pool, but then it also has a smaller pool, which is the toddler pool, and it goes into a pool which is deeper where they do the toddlers swimming lessons, but it's heated a little bit more than the other pool, and it's where they have their aquarobics. It's a gentle side. They hold their aquarobics in the big pool as well, but it's the gentler one in there, but it's beautiful and heated, and probably the water would come up to my neck or something. So yeah, sort of, yeah, it's a nice pool to work in. So that's our inside of our card. So let's pop this one on the inside of that as well. But yeah, I've just got to make that effort to get those swimmers made and get back down there, because it's terrible. I can't even climb steps anymore. So I sort of, my husband and I like to go for drives to areas, sort of like Wollongong or Kiama and places like that. And lately what we do is we drive in, drive around, drive home, because I just can't get up and down. I can't walk. If I've spent a whole day here sitting here sewing, my legs are just all frozen up. As I said, whoever else is watching this, we have lovely discussions here. I sort of chat away like I've got you all sitting right next to me, which is I hope you don't mind. Okay, so there's our 2 cards with our card inserts in, and now we're going to work on those elements, as I said before. So what I've got here is a piece of basic white yet again, and I'm going to cut this down. Now I'm going to pop this through my mini cut and emboss, but I just want to make sure this is going to fit okay. Might just have to trim this down just a fraction. Let me just check. Maybe a fraction more. It's around about 3.5 centimeters, 3.5 inches, I should say, the width of your mini cut and emboss. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to pop, you've got 2 dies that come in this suite. One gives you a cutout like you've just torn your paper from out of a notebook. And the other long die in this, you've got some leaf dies as well, but the other die gives you like a torn edge without actually tearing it. Now, usually I'm quite happy to tear. There are a lot of people out there that don't like tearing. I'm quite happy to tear myself, but this time I thought I'm just going to use these dies to show you how they work. So I'm just going to layer these on. Now, it's really up to you which way you want to have this one going, whether you want to have it that way, so you've got sort of, because we are going to cut this up for 2 cards, so whether you're going to have it with one big like bite out of it, out of the center, or turn it around and have that one there, you sort of got a bite here and a little bite there. And I'm just sort of trying to work out, because I don't know where I'm going to cut this, and I think I'm going to lay mine like that. Now I'm going to put some post-it note tape on this just to hold everything into place. So I'm going to do this onto, because I've got this going the full width. So I'm going to lay that one on there like that, and I just want to make sure that that stays there. So I'm going to actually flip that under a bit. And then, I think that's how I decided I wanted that one to go. That'll do. And I'm going to pop this one on. We're going to cut both of them at the same time. Glenda, I need someone like you in my life to sort of say to me, okay, time to get up out of bed, get yourself moving, get down to the pool. And someone to do that. Not once I get going, I'm fine. I can go, but I've got to do it in the morning. I've got to do first thing in the morning. If I don't do things first thing in the morning, it will never get done. Because by the time I get myself up and moving and doing things, I've always got other things I've got to get done, whether it's sewing wise or customer coming or phone calls. So it's sort of one of those things. I've got to be up and at them at 7 o'clock in the morning and down at the pool. Okay. Just going to actually, I'm having a little bit of, this probably would have been better to do it in the bigger cut and emboss, but that's okay. We'll see how we go. And we're just going to run that through. We're just doing it this way because we're making multiple cards. So this will sort of at least give me what I need for 2 cards. And let's remove this one. And I'll tidy those up later. I'll just pop them at the moment in my magnetic tray so we don't lose them. just pop these to one side because we are going to use them again. But there's our edge. So you could, if you wanted to, give this a bit of a flick. But so now we've got that edge at the top. And we've got that like a torn sort of edge at the bottom. So now we're going to cut this. And I have been playing, so I'm cutting this into a strip which is going to be about 5.5 centimeters wide. And the width is really dictated about where I've got these pieces in. Now I do want to remove that little bit there on the end. So I'm just going to line that up because I just want a nice start. And at that end, I'm going to treat as being straight, and I'm going to go 3.5. That doesn't seem right. 5.5, I think I said, didn't I? So about 5.5 centimeters. Might just do that from down because I haven't got a straight edge here. It makes it a little bit harder. Okay, I'm going to take that right to the top. 5.5. Just going to cut that about there. I'm going to cut one. There we go. So there's one, and then I want to cut a second one. So if I cut another one at 5.5, I've just got that lined up at the top there. Now that's going to give me, do I want to use that curve there? So if I pop this, I'm just taking it down to the bottom end here. Which edge do I like better? I think I like that edge better. And I'll show you what I just did. I've just picked and choose where I wanted. So that piece came, that was the original, how the original pieces all went. No, it wasn't. It was like that. So that's what I originally cut. So I like this piece with a big chunk taken out of the side. And this one here's got sort of like a little peak there. If I had have gone there, it was just a little bit too straight for me. So I've just taken where I've liked the nice shape from. Okay, so I hope you've understood that. So let me just pop that to one side, and they're the two pieces we want. And we're going to do some stamping on this. So there's our two pieces. Now, let me just grab my catalogue here, and let me just go back to where these catalogues are really great for getting lots of good ideas. Should have that piece. Should have marked the page, but I hadn't. So I'm not looking at the "You're Great." I'm looking at how they've stamped, because my idea was to stamp this green piece and then the pink in Bubble Bath behind, but then they've got this piece here where, and I'll just put the stamp away, I'm going to get it out again, and that's the piece I'm thinking of doing on mine. So let's just see how it's going to look and give it a go. So I'm going to have to pull that stamp out again. That's okay. Seems like, Glenda, this is just you and I today. No one else has been jumping on. Well, they're all hiding in the background just watching. Okay. So the colours I'm going to do here, I've got, this is the one I'm going to do first. So the colours I'm going to use is going to be Berry Burst, Bubble Bath, and Pretty Peacock. Now, I'm pretty much using the Pretty Peacock and the Bubble Bath. I was thinking of using the Pretty Peacock and the Bubble Bath on both of them. I can, because I have got a bit of Bubble Bath in here. So yes, and I've got a bit of the berry burst in there. So that's okay. I can do both of these exactly the same. But we are going to stamp off because I don't want it full strength ink. So I'm going to start with stamping maybe the bubble bath first. And I'm going to be using this stamp here for the bubble bath. And I'm going to stamp that one there. So this one here I'm not stamping off because it's a light colour anyway. And we're going to do, oh, hi, Lorraine. Thank you for joining. Glenda and I were just starting to think it was just the two of us. And I'm going to stamp that one there. So we're making 2 cards. And we're using the Masterfully Made. So that's the bubble bath. I've stamped that in. And I'm just going to clean that stamp off because I do need that block for the next bit of stamping. Pretty squeaky, isn't it? Okay. Whoops, I didn't get all of that there. I need to get myself a new chamois. This one, it's been cleaned, but it looks like a little bit of mold got in there. So I'm going to have to get myself a new one fairly soon. Because we don't want these stamps to be damaged. So, okay, so I want to remove that one. I'm going to stick that onto my stamp block and I'm going to pop this one on. And this one we're going to be using the Pretty Peacock, and we've got to remember to stamp off. That's okay, Lorraine. Just glad you're able to join us now, because that's the beauty of having these on Facebook and on YouTube. You can come back now. I just wanted to make sure that I've got really good coverage of ink on there, but I am going to stamp that off, and I just have to move that out of the road because I don't want this to overpower. And we're just going to stamp that down there. Again, ink that up for the second one. Stamp off. Oops. There we go. Now I want to try this with the Berry Burst. And I'm going to do it on my test one first to see what we think. This is the one I was playing with earlier. Now, I do want to remember to stamp that off. That doesn't look too bad. So I think, yes, I will go ahead with that. So make sure we stamp off. I'm going to make sure I've got this reasonably straight. Just adding a little bit extra texture. There's another one. I like that. And the only other thing that I am going to do with this, I've got this little bit of the script stamp that's got on there, and I'm using grey granite. Now I am going to stamp this off again. Just going to fill in some of these holes, making sure we remember to stamp off each time. Just to give that a little bit of texture on that. And let's do the same with this one. It really does. If you put those two side by side, it really changes the look of it. I hope you can notice it compared to all the stamping I'm doing on my stamp off, and then might just do just a couple more little spots there, and maybe just a little bit there. Okay, a couple areas there I'm not quite sure whether I stamped off or not. Oh well, that's okay. Okay then, so there's a little bit more stamping we need to do. I want to pop those there, and the only other thing I want to do is stamp 2 sentiments, and I'm going to do one of those sentiments in the Night of Navy and one in the Berry Burst. And I'm just popping thank you on here. Whoops, I'm going to restamp that again because I've got a halo on that. Just got to remember when you're stamping on a thinner stamp not to press down too hard. You want to keep your stamping fairly light so you don't get that halo around the edge of your stamped image. And that happens very easily on your thin sentiment type stamps. You don't want to push your stamp too much into your ink pad, but you also want, because if it's too juicy, the ink will come up and go around it, which means that you'll get ink on the cut edge of your stamp, which is where your halo is created. So you really just want to tap lightly, but then also with the stamping, you don't want to press down too heavy. So I'm just going to stamp that twice, one for each card. And you can tell there I used a slightly lighter hand here. My lettering is slightly thicker on this one, and that's probably to do, there might have been a little bit more ink. And this one here is a little bit finer. And even the U is slightly thicker than the T at the other end because I probably had slightly more pressure on that end of the stamp. So let me just clean all these while we go. Beauty of the chamois, you can take it out and get those little bits that you may have missed. I think this chamois is going to have to go in the dishwasher or the washing machine and get a really good clean. And then that one. Okay. So now we need to just die cut these. So let me just bring this in again, and with the, got this really nice little shaped die for sentiments that comes with this, with the dies that belong in this suite, and it's got like a little torn edge on the edge of it. Pop that in there and cut out one at a time. Just popping that into the middle. there's one sentiment, and we'll just cut the second one. Oops, that popped up. Okay, let's pop that back into there. So let's start putting these cards together. Now there's one more thing I want to do. I've already done one. So now I want to make another bow. So what I like to do with the linen thread is just run or even the baker's twine, just run my finger down it a few times, and that will sort of straighten out that thread because it's been wrapped around a roll for a while. And then I'm just going to tie quite a big bow, well, not a real big bow, but reasonably big bow, just like that. I think I've got one slightly bigger than the other, but that's okay. We can trim them down. So now here's our two pieces we're going to pop on here. So I'm going to pop that one there. Now I'm not putting dimensionals on this piece. I'm just going to pop a little bit of adhesive on there, and I'm not taking it all the way up to the top. I'm popping that onto one side. Whoops, I didn't mean to spin that around. I'm using my new glue. That's a little bit not put. And then I'm just going to give that a little bit of a lift on some of those. Bend a few of them, keep a few up, just so then they look a little bit more like they've been. Squish them down, flatten them out a bit. They look like they've been torn. Then we're going to do the same with this one. A lot of trucks and that going around out front of my house at the moment. We've got roadworks happening on the side street, and so all I can hear at the moment is trucks going up and down. Okay, so that's just going to give that a little bit of, so there's those two. So let's just remove that. And grab some glue dots. Oh, I must have the new pack. Let me just grab the old packs. I just want to use them first. Let's take a pick tool. Oops. And I'm just going to pop that one just there. Let's grab this one as well. That on a glue dot. It's going to give that a little bit of an extra push just to make sure that's adhered. Cut those tail lengths down in a minute. Okay. And then we need some dimensionals. So let's have a look. And I'm just putting one on each side because I want it to go over the top of the knot in that bow. Make sure it's nice and straight. Just like that. Here's our other one. Do the same here. Let's trim that down a little bit. And the last thing I thought I could do is I've got, now this one here, I do have some, just trying to work out what colour, because these are the in colour ones, and even though I'm using it's more Night of Navy, it's sort of, and this is not even the, because the in colour is Starry Sky and Orchid Oasis. Oh, sorry, not that, they're the old in colours. This is the boho blue. I still think it picks up. I don't think it's going to be wrong on that. So let's give it a go. What do you think? Does it look too wrong? I don't think so. Do we need any more or just leave it at that? Don't even know whether we need that one. I think we might just leave that at that. And then I'm going to use the same ones because this has got the Moody Mauve, but again, it's sort of, it's still within the same tones. There's a lot of these, so I'm going to use, it still goes quite well with Berry Burst. I don't think it looks too wrong. Just wanted to give it a little bit of a bling on there. So let me pop those away. And that's our, move all of this, just clear off my desk a little bit so you can see what we've ended up with. So there we go. So there's 2 cards using that one strip of Designer Series paper. So let me just grab a piece here. So this is the one that we've used. So we've just used both the top and the bottom piece and made 2 cards, both exactly the same, but different papers and slightly different looks because of those papers. So I hope you've enjoyed that today. Just a very, very simple card, very basic, but they're a lot of fun to make. So have a lovely day. Have a beautiful weekend. It's lovely weather here in the Southern Highlands at the moment. It's supposed to get to around about 25, 26 today. So that will be nice. It's lovely to see the beautiful spring weather and here in the Highlands, and we're celebrating tulip time here at the moment. So I'm sure out there in the world, there's lots of tourists hanging around. So have a lovely day, have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you next week, hopefully next Tuesday, as we create another card. Thanks for joining me today. Bye for now.